Hi everyone, welcome to Sunshine Ladies Unraveling Tales, where a group of bookish friends take you on a reading journey. We bring you TBR recommendations, exclusive bookish interviews, and event shenanigans. I'm Carrie, and on today's episode, I am joined by Reed and Steph. Join us in our excitement as we chat with our next author, Geneva Monroe, who will be attending the Romantasy Book Convention in Orlando later this year. It's so exciting to meet you, Geneva. Thank you so much for taking the time with us to chat with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is great.
For anyone not familiar with Geneva Monroe, please tell us about yourself. What are you known for? How did you get into writing? What is one thing you would like to say to a potential new fan out there?
Okay, well, hi, I'm Jen. So I started out as a bit of a mood reader. Not a bit. I started as a very comfortably happy person in YA fantasy land. And then I had a friend introduce me to romance books. And then I just jumped off the deep end. And now I am a mood reader turned mood writer. So I write both high fantasy with my Sun Serpent series, which is this book here.
Ooh,
and I have a dark Why Choose Mafia retelling of The Wizard of Oz, which is Dark Oz, which is this series here.
So gorgeous.
Thank you. I actually did this cover myself.
fantastic.
Oh,
Thanks.
Beautiful. I love
absolutely
it so much.
amazing. Yes.
So those are the two very different styles that I write in. Becoming an author was me entering my villain era, and I'm loving every torturous second of it. And sorry, not sorry for all the emotional damage, but I love you. It's with so much love.
It's so worth it.
We're here for the ride, honestly.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Okay, so just a reminder that this podcast is rated R. And so, Geneva,
That's good, because I love a good fucking swear word.
So we're gonna
Right? I
start
mean, who
with-
doesn't like a good fuck, right?
Right? Yeah. So now that is out of the way, with any of your characters, who will you scorch, swoon, or seal with a kiss? So this is basically fuck, marry, kiss. But Sun Serpent and Dark Oz are like you have to pick from your series.
Okay, so we're not killing anybody?
We didn't have to tell anybody. If you want to, it's on the options
Get
on
out
the
of my
table.
wheelhouse here. I don't know.
I'm gonna make you kill your own characters.
I'm gonna start making t-shirts that say I was killed by Geneva Monroe and all I got was this lousy t-shirt.
I love that. I love that.
Okay, so let's see. So we've got what is Scorch
Scorch, yep. Swoon or seal with a kiss.
and Seal with a Kiss. Okay, so Seal with a Kiss would be like Mary, right?
Mm-hmm. Like locking in
Like
the
you,
home.
like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got him
yeah.
forever, right?
Yeah.
And then Swoon would be like just flirt a little, and then Scorch would be making out in a waterfall.
However you want to
Yeah, whatever it
You
means
know
to
what?
you.
You're the author, so we'll read this.
Okay, so let's see. If I had to pick, so in the Sun Serpent series, Cal is my main character with that. He is really typical fantasy book boyfriend material, I think, where he's just really swoony prince that has all the lines. And I just love the fact that he falls so hard for her and, burn the world down kind of thing. Does not say no, just keeps trying, no matter how many times she shoots him down. So you're guaranteed, I think, with him to always have something that's really scorchy, but I don't know, his banter is pretty top notch.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just like a scorch or
I love his banter.
I don't know. So my Mary person, my seal with a kiss would be Shock for sure. Literally,
yes.
nobody out there
I was
is
gonna
going to
say,
be a better
Reed.
husband than that man. And like, he's so intuitive. He understands needs before you understand needs. Although Cal's really good with that with Illyria. Like, he definitely sees things coming before she does and like preemptively acts against them to like make sure that she's getting what she needs when she needs it. Literally. And okay, so the Scorch, I would do Cal, and then the flirty one, I would do Darian. He's a character introduced in Silver Star, which is book 3. He's actually my favorite character in this universe to write. And I know you guys haven't read this book yet, but I'm trying to use a comparative type of thing. He's a very Seth-like character if you've read Zodiac Academy. He's really very playful, does not take much of anything seriously, would follow his dick into a noose. kind of person and go
very
smiling.
Sad, very sad. Got it.
You know, but like also has so much more depth than he's letting on. You know, like it's a very like act comically on the surface kind of person. So I think if you were going to have like a really flirty, just back and forth for the hell of it, I think he would probably be one of those people who would flirt with you all day, all night, and you could do it with him in a way that would be very innocent, you know, like, and so that would be mine, and that's just staying in the Sun Serpent world.
Yep. What about Dark Oz?
If we were doing.
Yeah.
Dark. Okay, so if we were doing Dark Oz, since that's why I choose, I have 3 boys to pick from, so just with them. I would marry Crow, so that would be Seal with a Kiss, because I just think he would be a really excellent husband. In that, like, just really wants so badly to care for her. The Scorching Hot Night is Nick, and then the flirt. No, with Danny. I don't know. For those of you that don't know, Crow is my unhinged golden retriever. Nick is the hottest. Oh, no, that's who I would flirt with. He's the hot Italian who says dirty things in a language you don't understand.
Yes, please.
And then the hot fast night, you could have a lot of angry hot sex with Danny because he's the alpha hole with the tragic background that he's afraid of. So that's good for hot one night. Let's do it.
That's perfect. So anything else that you want to like compare, contrast between your 2 series? Like, I know you already kind of talked about
they are
one versus the other,
opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
Like really opposite ends. I randomly came up with the Oz idea. It was really deep down the Tate James rabbit hole, and I was listening to this podcast. It's a really great podcast for people out there who really like Disney-ish type things, and it's called Cinema Story Origins. It used to be called Disney Story Origins, and basically what he does is he compares the original text to the movie, but in a way that really pays respect to both. It's not the book is better kind of thing. It's more just here's what the inspiration material was, and then here's what the movie company did with it. Especially because a lot of the fairy tale based things are based on more than one work, and they're pulling from all these different sources. And so it's kind of cool to be able to just see all the rooted pieces to it. And I really love folklore and that kind of stuff. And so he did an episode on The Wizard of Oz. While we were driving home, we were listening to it. And I was like, I looked at my husband, I was like, man, tell me that this book should not be like Why Choose? And he was like, how would you do it? And I was like, Mafia? And he was like, well, okay. And by the time we got home, I had plotted out like a whole series. And then I sat down, I wrote 10,000 words, and just straight, like we got home 10 p.m. And the next morning he gets up, I'm still writing. I'd written 10,000 words. I'm like, I guess I'm writing another series now.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Yeah,
but
so
it's like,
cool.
I don't know, it's just really nice to be able to sometimes just be gritty and write guns and things. And if you need to be able to get a message to somebody on the other side of the continent, you know, you have to come up with an entire magical system to explain how people are long distance communicating to one another. And, you know, in the real world, all you have to do is say, oh, they opened a cell phone. I don't have to explain how a cell phone works.
Yep.
Yes.
Fair.
So it was nice to be able to just kind of let loose and not have to, I don't know, take it so seriously, I guess.
If Sun Serpent were a movie, who would you fan cast as Illyria and Cal?
Oh, okay. So, oh my God, I can't think of the actress's name. I should have looked this up.
We have a suggestion if you want ours. Okay.
Sure.
And then you can look this up later. Sophia Boutella, and I know that she's described
my laptop
as,
here. I'm just gonna pull it up.
or Theo James. I mean, and Theo James, not or. Aunt.
So
Definitely Aunt. Theo is Cal. She gives me this gorgeous fire energy.
Ooh, she's Algerian. Oh, I know who she is. She's the one who has the blade legs in Kingsman.
Nice.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, she would actually be really great. My cast for it is the lead actress in Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies.
Ooh. Okay.
And that actress is Lily James. Is who I would, especially just because in that movie in particular, there's so much about the attitude that she puts forth that I feel like really it captures the way that Elle is. And, it's like a high action film, and because, they study the Japanese arts, right? They were Japanese or...
Thank you for sharing. Yes. Awesome.
So that's who, and she has a very exotic kind of facial look to her too. Mm-hmm. And that's Sophia also kind of matches that in that, you can't really pinpoint a specific kind of race, that it's just, I don't know, it's exotic is the best word I can think of for it, because she just seems so unique. And that to me was kind of how Elle was, which is why she stood out so much, is because she just didn't look like every other girl that was running around. Yeah. For Cal, I have had Cal pinned for a very long time. This is gonna seem so weird because I'm not picking a mainstream, really widely known actor, although you guys would probably recognize him from his social media presence more than anything, would be Jennings Brower.
Please.
Okay, so you know him.
Yes, please.
So when I was writing Sun Serpent, he popped into my feed because I was also watching Lucifer at the time, and he cosplayed Lucifer. I saw this video of him, and I was like, oh yes. And it was in my head I had this amorphous kind of just general, the same book boyfriend I use when I'm reading literally every book. It doesn't matter how they are described in the book, I'm basically picturing this. Oh. And I don't know. So that's kind of how I always picture it. And so I was just kind of generally picturing that version of my main character. And then I saw this video that Jennings had, and in the video he does these golden flamey eyes too. Yeah. And I was just like, that's Cal right there. And then because I was like, oh my God, I must watch much more. Then he just started filling up my feed so completely. And I one time I said something to my girls in my reader group about it. And then they all went and were messaging him because he had made a video saying he wanted to read books. And they were just messaging him. They're like, oh my God, you should read Sun Serpent. It was just, I don't know. It was just wild. So that's in my head. I've kind of pegged him as who I would do as that role. He also cosplays as professionally cosplays as Rhysand. So at a lot of bookish events, you see him playing Rhys lately. And so if you know him from social media, from Book Talk, you probably know him because of that. Which tracks because Rhys, And Flynn Rider too. He was a really good Flynn Rider, which for a long time, a lot of Cal was very Flynn Rider-esque for me. So especially in book one. So I don't know, all of those things really kind of fit for me for that.
Oh, thank you for sharing. I love that. I had such a great time reading your work, and I can't wait to devour anything else you write. Honestly, you have such an incredible way of bringing all of my senses into the reading experience. So I just want to say I'm in love with that aspect of your writing so much. And so how would you say that you prepare for all of those vivid details that are so prevalent in your writing?
I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that my background isn't in literature, besides just being a voracious reader my entire life. I actually have a degree in fine arts, and so visual arts, and specifically painting and art history. I have an alter ego that's an adjunct art history professor and fine arts teacher.
I love that.
So I think the way that I approach writing is really similarly to the way that I would do a painting. When I'm working, I get myself a lot of visual references. This was part of how when I discovered Jennings, I was like, oh, that's perfect. Now I had like something visual in my head to kind of latch onto that could help me with crafting the character in a way that felt believable. I do a ton of research on like everything. Sometimes the rabbit holes I go down are borderline criminal, but it's okay. Especially when it came to Oz. Man, you would not believe some of the stuff I was Googling. Like what nitroglycerin smell like and stuff like that.
You got the feds checking on you.
My handler, I'm sure they're aware that I'm an author at this point. So like I have in Scrivener is the program that I write in. And for anybody who's just starting out writing, I would really highly recommend it as a writing platform. There are a lot of word processing platforms out there, but Scrivener, one of the things I really like about it is that it has the section where you type in that kind of looks like Word, but then you can have on the right side of your screen your notes. And you can have an area for like your outline summary. So with each chapter, I'm a plot sort of. I plot and then I know what I want the chapter to do for all its main hits and beats, and then the in-betweens I kind of figure out.
That's the best of both worlds, right?
A lot of the times the characters just kind of take over and they're like, we don't care what you have planned. We're making out on this cliff now. Like, now is not the time. And they're like, shut up, what do you know?
Oh my gosh.
So I can have all that on the right side of the screen. And then in my notes section, a lot of the times I will have a ton of visual references. You know, like when I'm designing out Illyria's ball gown in the second book, I had pictures for what the hemline here looked like. I had dresses for what the shoulder pieces in the back looked like, the slit in the skirt, the hairpiece that's in her hair. Like I had all of these things all just like accumulated out on the right side of my screen so that I could kind of like look at them to help me with the way that I was describing stuff. Or like when I'm describing a landscape, you know, like when they're in the lunar forest where everything's all glowy, I did this huge search on bioluminescent creatures and found all these photo references of different kinds of glowworms and flowers that glowed and animals and bugs.
So imaginative. I love it.
And I put like all of those kind of on the right so that I could use them to kind of just push that forward. And then, you know, like I also had reference photos from other things that I had seen that glowed, you know, like Pandora in Avatar.
Yeah.
And when I say Pandora in Avatar, what I actually mean is Pandora at Disney World for Avatar.
Yeah.
Because a huge part of why I wrote The Lunar Forest was because I obsessed over that land at night. My son was 3. It was literally like within a year of when I just started writing.
Yeah.
And we went to Animal Kingdom for the first time and walked around. And I made us go back. We went back like every night. And I was just like, this is everything. And I was just like, I am writing a land of never ending night. This is happening.
Oh, I love that story.
That's so cool.
I have goosebumps. Oh my goodness.
So like I think that's a lot of it. Plus when I'm writing, my writing process, a lot of authors will tell you, and like writing professionals are like, don't edit as you write. But a lot of what I do is, again, it's like how I paint, which is like you paint a little area and then you like step back and you look at the whole thing and then you like go into some other area and you add so that the whole thing has that cohesive feel. You know, like when I'm writing like chapter 5, while I'm writing, I might be thinking about chapter 20 that will be coming, and then I'll like I'll hop out of that and I'll put notes into the later chapter so that I have all of the things that I'm like, oh, I want to make sure that we're doing a throwback to this line in here, or I had this idea, or this scene that I'm writing right now in chapter 5 will be what they're thinking about later in chapter 20.
That is so brilliant, you know, and you keep referring to the paintings, and I've dabbled in paintings, and I would love to see some of your work, but I know exactly what you're talking about, how one part of the painting will be calling at you. It will just be calling to you. You just have to, you have to address it. You have to spend time with it. But specifically, I love those callbacks that, you know, you're writing a word here, and then later you just jot that in another chapter, 10 chapters away. That's such smart writing.
Thanks. For me, my favorite kind of books that I like to read were always the ones where, like, on a second read through, it's a totally different book. You know, like
my face too.
Like you can never go back and read the ACOTAR series the same way a second time because of all the events that happen throughout those books. When you go back, it literally changes the meaning of every line. Like every line had a double entendre and you didn't even know it. Things were being told flatly to your face and you did not know. And that for in a lot of ways was super influential to me as an author. And I've actually done several like lit study type things on a few of the books from that series. For instance, I took the War Council that's in Wings and Ruin. And when they're like sitting there, all of the High Lords gathering at the meeting, it's like a 7-chapter like scene of just a bunch of people sitting around a table talking. And the beginning of Silver Shard is a bunch of people sitting around a war table talking. And I was like, it's a really necessary scene. They need to debrief the insanity that is Starspear. And then they need to plan. And I was like, I didn't know how to do that in a way that wasn't crazy. And so my editor actually was like, well, you know what book does it really well? And I was like, oh my God, you're right. So then I pulled it out and I started taking all these notes down, like who was talking, what type of talking were they doing? Was it friendly? Was it accusatory? Was it a bomb drop? Was it an insult? You know, like, was it a joke? Like, was it the comedic relief? You know, all of these things. And I just kind of took notes on her pacing for the way she did it, and how one of the things that made that scene so great was the fact that so many characters sitting at that table had conflict and unresolved trauma with another character at the table that wasn't necessarily core to what they were all meeting about. And those issues played out over the course of that conversation, and it kept things driving forward.
Delicious.
And there was always something happening because of it. And so then I sat down and I wrote out a conflict map, like a spiderweb conflict map of that table where everyone was sitting at the table and who had issues with who over what things. And then I had that sitting in front of me the whole time as I was writing, and like just flip-flopping back and forth between everyone.
You really are a visual artist too. Oh,
I'm very, very visual. Yep. Oh yeah, I needed to have literally a diagram of like what was like I don't even know, because it's not even the direct storyline. It was just a visual diagram of people's issues.
Of the tension, yeah.
Yeah, it was a tension diagram, exactly.
Awesome.
So for me, one of the things I love in my fantasy books is this constant theme of found family. And I love that in Sun Serpent. So there is such a strong found family vibe within the circus troupe that is introduced in Sun Serpent. Were any of the side characters based on any real people that you know?
Yeah. Not in the troupe as much. Although I will say there are a lot of elements of Duke that I took from my own relationship with my father, and the relationship that I have with my son, and the relationship I see my husband have with my son. So they're just like, just the prime father figures in my life. Like, he's kind of an amalgam of all of them rolled into Harry Zidler, I guess, from Moulin Rouge.
Okay.
Or like if you made Harry Zidler all of those people, that would be Duke. There are a couple other characters who are side characters who are loosely based on other people. Morgan, who is the pirate captain that's introduced at the end of Sun Serpent, and then becomes a pretty important character as the series continues. She is loosely based on my best friend's pseudo-adopted daughter. And she is this like 5-footer, like 4'12", very short little firecracker of a person who had this ability. She would walk in and she would like own a room full of freshmen. She would just walk into my classroom. She just own this whole room full of freshmen and like bring them all to heel like instantly, even though she was this tiny little thing, like 90 pounds soaking wet, just this little tiny ball of fire. And I just loved the fact that she had such a large presence for someone who was so small, like big shadow, tiny feet kind of thing. And So I used a lot of notes for Morgan's character from her. Now, they don't look anything alike, but the spirit of Morgan is from my friend's daughter. So that's that. Or like little baby Madeline, Joseph's daughter,
yes,
is based on my very good friend Allie Dane, who's a narrator. It's based on her daughter. In fact, the whole scene when they're leaving and Maddie starts crying and sobbing like it's like the end of the world, and she's like, "I don't worry about it." She does that with everyone. That's based on like a true story that happened when I was over at Allie's house, and her daughter was just like, "I don't want them to leave." And I was like, "Oh," I'm so like, my bleeding heart was like, "I'm so sorry." And Allie was like, "She does this with everybody. Just go." So like I definitely take, I don't know, just like memorable moments of things with people in my life, and they find their way into this, maybe not a direct character, but the spirit of some character might be channeling them at different times. I don't know a single person who wouldn't say that they don't have their own found family. You know what I mean? Like there's the family you're born to and the family you choose. And it doesn't make one any better or worse than the other, but it doesn't change the fact that I feel like we all have those people in our lives. You know, friends who you've been friends with for so long that you feel a sibling type connection to them, or your platonic soulmate.
Yep.
You know, and I think, and that part of that was that for the majority of my life, I was an only child. So it was a lot of bringing more people into my life to fill the void that you got from not having siblings. And, you know, like my best friends, my son calls my best friend's parents like grandpa and nona, you know, and then he calls the other ones like aunt and uncle. And we refer to their kids as his cousins, and, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like, but it's very natural for me to form friendships that form in the books that form in the same way that all of my core friendships were formed. You know, it's either based on forced like exposure, you know, like you were just forced into a situation together for so long that you formed a friendship, or it was some core thing you had in common that tied you together, or some like shared important moment that you had at the same time with that person that tied you together. And those three basic things are kind of what all of my found families are based in. You know, like Ray and Illyria are brought together through the traumatic craziness that is the end of book one. And then, you know, finding that similar, all those similar things to each other that kind of help connect them together. And then versus Cal and Shock, who were forced to have to endure their childhood training together and were forced into one area together for years, and then that bonded them together. You know, like it's
I like to live by the people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Absolutely. It's wild the way that it seems like the people who need to come into your life come into at the exact moment you needed them. And I have a perfect for instance for that, actually. I had just published Sun Serpent. I was working on Starspear. I made a post on Bookstagrammer, was asking about, like, I didn't know that beta reading was a thing. And I had made a comment on one of his videos saying, I got a book you can beta read. I'd love for you to read this, right? And in the comments of that, my now editor commented, she was like, I want to beta read your book. I have 2 lit degrees. Let me put them to work for you. And I was like, so I sent her a message. I was like, yeah, I would love to have your expertise in this. It would just be really welcome. And then she went so hard into the beta reading that I ended up telling her, I was like, I'm giving you an edited byline on this, whether you want it or not. And she was like, oh, my dream is to be a fantasy book editor. And she's like, this is so exciting. And so then from there, she's like living her dream. I'm so freaking proud of you, Les. And then so like Alessia, who's the character gets introduced in book 2, is named after her.
I was gonna ask. I was like, wow, what?
Yep. So Les is named after my editor. But like, so then she comes in, right? And then she and I are talking one day, and I find out that she lives in the UK, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But then I find out she's actually Italian, and that, you know, she went to an international school, and then she went and she got her degree in England. and in English literature, but that she grew up in Italy. And I was like, well, just so happens I am writing a series right now where I have a like second generation like Italian immigrant who has like
So
his
serendipitous.
Nona and like basically anytime he's really upset or doesn't want to admit his feelings in a way that Thea can hear it, likes to talk in Italian. And I was like, I could really use some help with writing these lines so that they're authentic. And she was like, oh, I would love to do that, you know. But it was like she came into my literally like we had that conversation right as I was just finishing Dark Oz, and like because I was writing Dark Oz as I was editing Starspear. And then so she then gave me all kinds of really great insight. Nona, who is a character introduced in The Witch's Die, which is book 2 of that series, is an homage to her Nona. She shared all these stories with me about her grandma and
incredible,
and like the family tradition of making salsa and little stories, and that I tried to weave into that character to just kind of like
texture.
And so, but like again, like she like just one day commented on an Instagram video, on a comment on somebody else's Instagram video. And then that just happened to bring us together. And now like I couldn't imagine writing a book without her, you know, like, and she's out there living her editor dreams now, which is, I can't even tell you. I'm so stupidly proud of her for making that happen.
That's so incredible.
And like going after your dreams is scary, you know, like it's real scary.
Mm-hmm.
And like anybody who just leaps, you know, because that's what it is. It's like you're jumping off. It's like cliff diving, you know, you're just leaping and like hoping that the water at the bottom is deep enough,
mm-hmm.
you know, and then for a while it feels like you're drowning, but it's okay because you come back up. You know, like that's what it is. So I'm real proud of anybody who makes that leap.
You have to believe in yourself just enough and be scared just enough, and
you have to have the right people. You have to have the right people cheering you on and behind
Absolutely.
you. You know, like you got to find your tribe that's going to be there to support you and keep you going.
Yes, for sure. So, Jen, are there any overarching messages in your stories that you want your readers to discover or really get out of?
A lot of the times, the messages in the book are like the core, I guess, like the moral of the story, like the core feeling that drives the narrative of that book forward gets put into the dedication. So like the dedication, well, the dedication for Sun Serpent is a little bit special. It's got a whole other story that goes to it, and I've made a video on it once before, but
okay.
The dedication for Sun Serpent is, I should get the real copy, but it's all the way over there. So the dedication here says, this book is dedicated to anybody who said, so write it already.
Mm-hmm.
I did it. And the reason for that was okay, so Illyria came about because she was my first ever D&D character. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I was given the player's handbook, and they were like, just, you know, make a character, pick one, and write a backstory. And then her backstory just kept going and going and going. And I kept saying to everybody, I was like, God, I just really want to read her story. I'm like, she's so cool. I just really want to read her story. She would be such a cool character. And, you know, like, and then like my best friend was one of those people who just, so write it already. Stop talking about writing a book and write it already. And I was like, I can't write a book, you know, like, what do I know about writing a book? I teach art. And she was like, Jen, you write, or you read 100 books a year. I'm like, you've done the groundwork.
And it's just another medium of art.
They're like, you know how a book goes. Mm-hmm. And she's like, so just try. And I was like, oh. So I like sort of like putzed around on it, and I wrote a little bit. I'm telling you, my first 30,000 words that I wrote were absolute garbage, total trash.
Oh no.
And that's not me being really hard on myself. That's me being really honest with myself. They were awful. I gave those the first chapter I ever wrote, which the first chapter I ever wrote is actually from book 3. It's when she arrives in Indamira and you meet Darian. Like, that's the first thing I ever wrote. It took me forever to get there. But that was the first thing I ever wrote. And then I started doing some research into craft, and COVID hit hard and we were all stuck inside. And Jen Armentrout did this Ask Me Anything series on writing craft for about a week, where every day she was coming on Instagram Live and you could send her your questions ahead of time and then she would address them online as best she could. And my question was, you know, like, I have this idea for a book I want to write, but I'm not really sure that I have the skills necessary to be able to do it. And I was like, do you have any advice for a person who thinks they want to be a writer but doesn't know that they can write? And essentially she was like, you're never going to know if you can write a book or not until you try. So stop talking about the thing you want to do and just do it already. And I was like, okay. So then in 2023, in August of 2023, I had published, it was August of 2023, was a Polycon, and I went to see her, and I brought her the copy of Sun Serpent that came out of my first box that was ever, and I was like, you probably don't remember me, but Jen Armentrout has the world's most amazing memory, by the way, because she did remember that. And so I have a copy of my book that was from my first box of books I ever received. It was like the first official printing of the book. And so the first book I pulled out of that box, what I've done is I take it with me every time I go to any kind of book convention, and all the authors whose books I've read and have been a part of my own journey as a reader and writer, I ask them to sign it, like yearbook style. You know, like it's all part of this thing, right?
I could cry right now.
But then I took the book and I showed it to Jen, and I was like, so I don't know if you remember, I was that person that asked you that question, and you said, so write it already. And this book is dedicated to everybody who said, so write it already. And I just wanted you to know I did. And then she wrote underneath it, she was just like, great, now do it again and again. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was how I ended up crying in front of Jen Armentrout.
Oh, fair.
That's amazing.
Oh gosh, that deserves some tears.
But so like a lot of book one is about, you know, like being brave enough to go out and after that thing that you want, you know, like Cal is doing that, Elle is doing that. Some other things too about being honest with yourself, I think is a big part of that too. A lot of Dark Oz is learning to understand and accept and move on from your trauma, to not realize that your trauma necessarily is who you are, but that you are something above that. Mm-hmm. That you're more than a history of the things that have happened to you. And that is a very core part of each character in that book, is them just addressing their past and who they are now. In book 3, Silver Shard's dedication is to everyone who had to say goodbye to the person they were to become the person they are. And I think that a big part of maturing is understanding that the person you are now is not the person you were then, and that's okay. You know, that you shouldn't try to keep forcing yourself into smaller shoes. You grew. It's okay to move out of that and keep going, you know? And a lot of book 3 in The Sun Serpent is about that process.
So switching to a little bit of a darker theme. The Dark Oz.
Let's do it.
Okay. Yes, let's dive into it. The Dark Oz is a twisted reimagining of The Wizard of Oz, like you mentioned, with mafia romance vibes.
It's like mafia-esque. It's mafia adjacent. There are mafia families in there, but they're like, the main characters aren't them.
Okay. So just vibes.
Okay.
Yeah, mafia vibes.
What inspired you to take Dorothy's world into a darker direction? And it also addresses the heavy subject of human trafficking.
Mm-hmm. A lot of that book is based on things that over the course of my life and people I've known, I've seen. I've known a few people in my life who have really remarkably grown out of their own trauma, or grown from their own trauma, I guess might be a better way to say it. And I find so much personal inspiration and strength from seeing the way that they have tackled their life and just claimed it, even though it's not my story. That's their story. But I wanted to write a character that felt that way. And like I said, there was just that day, and I just had this idea. And I think a big part of that too is the fact that I was really deep down the Tate James rabbit hole. I was like mid the guild books when I heard that. So if you've never read Tate James, you should go read some Tate James. Go start.
Okay, got
book
it.
One of the Madison Kate series is called Hate. My favorite series is the Guild series that's out of that, but every series in that universe gets better and better.
Will do.
She's she is one of my chief writing inspirations also.
You got it.
And so, but all of those books, well, all of her books are Why Choose. And so that was kind of like my head was already there, like that was what I had been reading so much of. And like I had also just read the Lords of Pain books. And so like I was also in Forsyth University. Like I was living a very happy dark romance era. And so like I just thought it would also be fun to try tackling something that was so wildly different from what I was already doing. Like that dual side, that fractured side of me. It was like the side of me that growing up listened to Sarah McLachlan and also Godsmack. like Disturbed and Ani DeFranco. like there were two very different parts of me, like that existed back then, and that also I needed to have the dark goth in me express themselves in literature in the same way that the romantic fantasy girl was doing it.
I relate to that so much. I feel like I have one side of me that just loves the goth side of life, and the dark side is pessimist and all that. And then I have the gardener and the romance and the...
So like that, I don't know, it just felt really natural, I guess, to embrace all of that. And there is something very liberating about giving yourself permission to be able to just do anything.
Go there. Full
just go there. And then I have some really amazing people on my beta team who check me to see if I'm A, not pushing boundaries enough, or B, pushing them too far. And they were like, there are certain times that I've had people, you cannot kill both this and that. You need to bring one of them back. And I was like, but, and they're like, no, bring one of them back. And I was like, okay. I guess sure? I won't kill this off. I'll change it. I'm like, there you go.
They won't get hit by a train, fine.
But then they definitely enable the worst parts. And I'm like, I'm kind of thinking, and they're like, do it. Do it. They're like, do it. They're definitely
love that
on my shoulder. Do it. Yeah.
That's fun.
So. And then also, like, with things like the human trafficking and stuff, I've had some pretty amazing people through the course of Dark Oz reach out to me who have a history with trafficking and have shared their stories with me. And I've asked them to, like check me. I've been like, did you actually think that the way that I approached this was A, respectful, and B, accurate? And I got a lot of really good feedback on that. And then I also asked a lot of them, like, even after the books had been published, because one of them I didn't meet until I had published the second book in the series, and I was working on book 3, and we had a really long conversation one day. And I was like, well, can you just tell me, like, when you're reading books that deal with trafficking, like, what are the things that you absolutely hate seeing in a book that immediately make you cringe and make you go, oh God, like, I wish they wouldn't do that, And then I took that feedback into account too. I was like, like, I wouldn't want that. But it's also why I have, at the beginning of each of the Dark Oz books, I have the trafficking hotline number is in there. I also have, like, the domestic abuse hotline and suicide awareness helpline. Like, I have all of those in there because, A, reading dark stuff is triggering, and I didn't want to trigger somebody and have them not have something, there. And, like, human trafficking is not fictional. even though I wrote fiction.
Exactly.
So
it's not talked about very often, and I appreciate
there.
you.
It's a part of our world, and you know, like I did it in a way that was meant for people to get some kind of enjoyment out of. You know, like I'm not going to say that my books weren't intended to, in some brutal kind of way, be enjoyable. But you know, like I also want to make sure that that's something that people are aware of, that it's definitely an issue, and you know, to speak up if they need to, you know.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, we can't talk books without talking about our favorite tropes. So, Geneva, for you, what are your
only
favorite
one
tropes
everything?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Was I too enthusiastic on that? Give me only one. Only one bed, only one horse, only one elevator, only one car, only one motorcycle. Like, give me only one, literally anything. And I'm like, the second they're like, oh darn, we couldn't. I'm like, yes. I'm like, this is gonna be good.
All right, so that's your favorite to read. What is your favorite trope to write?
Oh no, I like writing that too.
Oh, you like writing it too?
It's in so many. It's in so many of the books. I do an only one bed thing in multiple books with Cal and Illyria. I'm like, you know what? Anytime you need people to address the elephant in the room, forced proximity is just such a good way to like force that conversation to happen. I did it with Nick and Thea too. You know, like they didn't want to address their issues. Well, we will force them into a room together, and then they can address them in the sexiest way possible. So I like that a lot. I like fated mates too. The dreamer in me likes a fated mate story, even in the contemporary stuff. I'm writing the Savage Wonderland prequel novella right now, like literally earlier today. And I was writing all this very fatalistic type stuff into there. And I was like, is this too fantasy-esque? I was like, nah. Or like, let's throw it in here anyway. Like, I was like, it'll be all right. Because I do love, I don't know, I love that. I had a very, like, when I met my husband, it was a very, like, I don't know, 4 days after we started dating, my husband told me he would marry me. So it was a very insta-love kind of relationship. So I know a lot of people say they can't stand reading insta-love because it feels so unrealistic. But for me, that was my story.
Burn hot and burn fast. I like it.
Yeah. I also love slow burn, like an insta-love slow burn.
Same,
which I know is so contradictory. But I love the idea that there's insta-love and then like they fight it for way longer than they should. But I don't know. Yep. Maybe that's just the masochist in me.
Oh, I know. There's a particular book series somewhere up here that burns for a long time.
I'm like, your books are so small.
Okay. No, it's a running joke because there's a 3-book slow burn, and it's like, oh wow, how are you?
Are those the Everflame books? Because dear God, Ken Cole can drag a storyline on like a boss. You can name her Lee Bardugo. You know, you get us to the point where you're like begging for them to touch pinky finger, then you're like
literally
that is exactly the one I was thinking of. Yeah
100%.
And I'm like, this had better live up to it, because I tell you what, because you can only drop so many panty melting lines many times before I'm like,
Milky Way and Andromeda would collide faster than Luther and Diem. Okay. Oh my gosh.
I love you, Pen.
I mean, I really loved those books.
Oh my god,
I really loved them.
We love Pen so much. We love Pen so much. It was just torturous. Like their love. It's Luther and Diem's love that was so brutally slow burn in the best way. But yes. Also,
and I bought the Dutch edition of Spark the Everflame too, and it's so pretty. It's so pretty. I'm such a book whore. I'm like,
ooh,
all right. So let's cater to the romantics for a moment, because I'm one. So without spoilers, what is one of your favorite steamy scenes, and who are your book boyfriends?
Okay, book boyfriends from my books or book boyfriends from other books?
Any,
any.
Okay, so all right. So my favorite steamy scene in my stuff, I love the waterfall scene in Sun Serpent. I have every moment of that scene completely painted in my head as like a complete picture, to the point where I have a background in dance. I danced when I was in high school, and I did Latin dance in my 20s and was like a Zumba instructor and like all the things, right? And I took some classes in college on choreography. So I write all action sequences, spicy scenes and fight scenes like dance choreography. So I pick a song and I actually I like write it out like dance choreography, the whole scene and like what's happening when. And then after I've done that, then I write a description of what that choreography looks like. And then I do like, sometimes I do like storyboard stick figures of the body participants and or take action figures, which my kids' action figures have done some deplorable things to do it too, because again, I'm a very visual kind of person. But so if anybody wants to know, the waterfall scene is choreographed to Inferno. And it's in the playlist, and I have a playlist in every book, and it's either songs I listened to while I was writing, songs that inspired some part, or songs I choreographed too.
I love your playlist. We
Thanks.
have a similar interest in some of the niche songs that you have in there, so I really appreciate
and it's a
music.
it's a lot of indie music, because I can't write to music I know the words to, so I'm always looking for new stuff. And a lot of the time, the indie stuff is the best way to go for that, because the trad mainstream music gets played so much, it's impossible to not know it. And yeah, like that being said, like there are songs that are like, they're like Taylor Swift songs on my playlist that inspire scenes.
Sure.
But
fun fact: last year I was in the top 1% of Spotify listeners. So, and that was before I did a whole. Yeah, I fell into the, I actually just started reading again, so I listened to a lot more music last year. But I've been consumed by reading this year, so I'm not going to be in the 1%.
That's okay too.
Yes. No, but I love music so much, and indie music has my heart. Mm-hmm.
Me too. I was a band geek in high school. So I love that. Yeah, I did marching band. I don't know if you can see, I've got my color guard flag right here.
I love that.
Okay.
She doesn't get spun anymore, but she's still there. So like, and I did like 8 years of clarinet and 4 years of euphonium, and so like the music thing goes along with the dance thing and the arts thing. Yeah. Like I really just went from one version of the arts to the next, like just fell from one to the next to the next to the next, trying to find the thing that fit. Like it was all great. I loved doing all of it. And nothing fit like writing did, though. Once I like really went head into writing, it was like, this is all I want to do. I want my writer identity to be like my only identity, instead of living dual secret lives. Like
That's such a beautiful butterfly effect that you have there. So tell us about any fun characters or plot lines that didn't make the final cut of any of your series, any of your chapters, any scenes.
So I had a really fun Shock and Illyria training scene. I wrote an entire training scene out between the two of them. That was really, really fun. And then my editor was like, listen, you can't have 3 training scenes in one book. By the time they get to the third one, people are going to be like, can we get on with it already? Isn't there a war that needs to be fought? And they're like, so which of these do you think is the most important for the plot? And honestly, the strip sparring was not plot necessary, but I was like, I want to write it, so it's happening. And I make no apologies for that, because it was really fun to write.
As you shouldn't. Yeah.
But so like the Shock L, some of that got folded into the strip sparring scene. A couple of the moves got put into there. Some of it got tabled for later. Some of it just got cut altogether. I never like truly delete stuff. It just gets put aside so that it can find its way into something later. I had written this scene that I may just put it in like a bonus content thing, because plot wise, I decided to not go in the direction. I totally changed plot direction. But I wrote a whole scene where Elle is trying on wedding dresses, and it's Jess and Leopold designing her wedding dress together, while Macy and Ray and Les and like they're all like hanging out, and Kaylee are all hanging out in the room with her while it's happening. And it's a lot of like really great back and forth. It's Ray while she's still like mid like main trauma, like, so she's really surly, and it was just a really fun way to write all this back and forth, and like two just really great eccentric characters in the room at the same time. And the dress I designed such a beautiful wedding dress, and I'm like, I don't know that we'll ever put her in it now, and I'm like, but c'est la vie. It might just go in some bonus content and like some Kickstarter someday. I may just be like, oh, I'm throwing this random thing I wrote this one time in there. Like, this scene isn't gonna happen now. But...
Have it illustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Fan art.
And so, tell us how you balanced vengeance and hope for Sun Serpent.
Vengeance is having its moment right now. It's real hard to balance the hope out a little bit, because things go very badly. And I'm sorry to everybody who has read Silver Shard for where I left you, and the fact that you will probably be sitting there for a little while, because it may be a minute before I get the next book written.
I'll take my time with it.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna rush it. But balancing out the vengeance and the hope is, I don't know. It's like every time I'm writing, I try to balance levity with darkness, even within the chapter. Like, I've had a lot of people tell me, they're like, it's amazing how in one chapter you can make me laugh, cuss you out, and cry all in one chapter, and then do it again the next chapter. And I'm like, I don't know. And then that's a big part of that. Like this, I think there needs to be an ebb and flow, like a pendulum, you know, like it can't just stay on one side for too long, you know, like it has to have something, like there has to be some kind of silver line, not a silver lining, I guess, but just something that brings things up all the time, you know, because I think that helps keep things interesting too, you know. There has to be some irreverent person who can find humor in any situation, or like that humor is their defense mechanism, so they can be cracking jokes that are inappropriate in the moment, you know, like they've got a noose around their neck and should probably be dying in the next minute, but they're like cracking wise ass jokes at the villain.
That reminds me of a special someone. My partner. Shout out to Keith.
So like, I don't know. I think that's important for story structure to be able to have that, you know. You can't have the light without the dark. And also, like, you don't understand the good moments without the dark moments to give them perspective, you know, like
absolutely,
like how good things are. I'm such an optimistic pessimist, though, that like every time that's happening, I'm like, yeah, but that's because it's gonna get real bad real soon, right?
The shoe's gonna drop. Yeah.
I'm like, this is too nice. Things are too good. And I'm like,
the pendulum
pages left. I'm like, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Jen, we're gonna play a quick game of this or that.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to start with e-read or physical read.
E-read. I have a really hard time. I do have a physical, I don't know. I read a physical book, an ebook, and an audiobook at all times. So,
same.
But I would say I probably put the most mileage on e-reader stuff because I can read on my phone, which means that I have it accessible to me more often than anything else. And like, if my kid's like cuddling with me, like here, I can be like sitting on my phone and like scrolling. And now that he can read, we have to angle this. Actually, I got a privacy screen protector, which is even better because
close the text.
He's like almost 9 now, so his reading is pretty top notch, and his understanding of things is starting to be uncannily good. So, so I guess I would go e-reader, but I love audiobooks. I love audiobooks too.
Me too.
Yep.
Me too. I love immersive reading so much. Being able to listen and actually read along. I love that.
Oh yeah, Whispersync is the best too. Like being able to like have it highlight as you're reading.
That, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bonus scenes versus special editions.
Special editions. I'm such a book whore.
Yeah, I knew what you were going to say.
I knew what you were going to say. I'm like, can I have a bonus scene in my special edition? Why choose, right?
Of course. Why choose?
Exactly. Why choose?
Can we do both?
We can do both. But if you had to pick,
Dagger...
just for the sake of the game.
All right. Secret Identity or Forbidden Love?
Secret Identity.
Blood Oath or Dark Bargain?
Dark Bargain.
Dark Bargain, yeah.
Sealed with a blood oath.
Sealed with a
So
blood
you
oath.
can't
There
back
we go.
out of it.
Yeah.
And a dagger dipped in poison.
Right. Character driven or plot driven?
Plot driven for sure. I love a twisty plot. So and I love when a twisty plot surprises me. One of the things that kind of happened after I became an author was I feel like my predictive plot skills started getting better. So when a plot really surprises me or is so intricate and like just does this spiral connecting kind of thing, those kinds of plots I'm always like Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong. If you need a book, that book was my best read of last year. It's so good.
It's on my list.
It is so unbelievably good. It's like so info heavy at the beginning of the book, but I swear to God, everything, even when you think it's an unimportant little bit of detail, comes into being important later. It's brilliantly written, and it addresses ignorance with such nuance. It's like, it made me like start checking my own white privilege. I was like, whew.
Oh damn. Yeah.
Like it was just, it's such a good book. Everybody should go read it.
I love that. It's in my top 5, but with obviously,
and that's a basically no spice. That is all like plot driven. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Awesome.
sorry, tangent. Sorry.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, all good. All right, writing collab or writing alone?
Oh, that's hard because I do both. I probably get more mileage on my writing when I'm writing alone. But there are some times that I would not be able to continue on without my writing wifeys to A, make me write, because sometimes I get distracted and it's hard to finish. And then B, the people who are there that I just have to back and forth talk things through to be able to figure out what I'm doing. So I don't know, that's hard.
All right, meet and greets or group chats?
Meet and greets. I love meeting people in real life. Like I love to hug people. There's a reason why I'm going to so many events, and it's because I just really love meeting people. I love meeting new people for the first time. I love getting to see people that I only ever get to see at events. They are like, I have like some of my best friends I've met at bookish events, and now I see them at other bookish events every time they happen, and it's just become so almost like such a small world. Like, like go into, especially when you go to the bigger events, like when I go to a Polycon every year, because I've gone to the last 5 Polycons, and then I'm going to be signing at the next Polycon, which I am so really excited about because I have gone as a reader for so long.
Full circle.
Yeah, it really is, because the Polycon's the whole reason why I started reading romance books in the first place. And because my friend Allie was like, hey, come, like, let's go. And I was like, I'll read the romance books. This will be fun.
Make all the memories and take all the photos and definitely write, because use that as inspiration. But that's really amazing, that full circle moment. Love that. Yeah.
Wizard or Draken?
Draken.
Duh.
I was say that was pretty easy.
Dragon and everything.
Yeah.
I have dragons right here.
All right. Reading first person or a third person POV?
First. I love first person POV. Like I'll read third person, but I definitely prefer first. I love good deep first person POV. I like being able to forget that I'm actually reading a book.
Yes. All right. Pen and paper or keyboard?
Keyboard. I do note taking on pen and paper, but and then I will immediately take everything I just wrote on pen and paper and put it into the computer anyway. So
Where's like the most inconvenient spot that you're in, or something that you're doing in daily life when you're like, I have to get this written down? I mean, shower is probably one of them, right? You're in the shower and you have the best ideas.
Such a productive shower like 2 months ago, though. I had a complete epiphany. I was okay, don't judge me too hard for
Showers
this.
are the best.
I was so I reread the that one night, the prequel novella to the Pucking Wild books.
Okay.
By Emily Rath. I reread that novella because it was a very well written, quick, fast, and dirty novella that felt very believable. So I wanted to go back and reread it and just see the, like, from a more technical standpoint, like how and why I bought into that so well. So I decided to just reread it. I just, like, it's not a very long novella, so I just read it in the afternoon, but I still had one chapter left to go. So I took it into the shower with me. Thank you, waterproof phones. I was like scrolling, reading the last chapter, and then I just had this full-on shower epiphany for the Savage Wonderland series, which is my next in the Wicked Worlds books, which is what Dark Oz is, Wicked World. And I had a major epiphany. So I literally got out of the shower, I went down, spit a whole bunch of words at my husband, like towel on my head, bathrobe on, and then he went, okay, and I went, I'm telling this to the wrong person. So then I went upstairs and I FaceTimed my one best friend, who I tell all my unhinged theory and ideas to, and just spit them all at her. And she's a very good cheerleader. She's like my biggest cheerleader. And if you're in my reader group, it's Lo. That's
shout out Lo.
She likes to stir the pot. So she likes to like tell everybody, hey, I know what's coming. But I was like, I still had my towel and my robe on, and I FaceTime her. I'm like, I'm not wearing any clothes. You're gonna have to look at the ceiling. And then I put it down. I was like, but I gotta tell you this right now.
Oh my gosh. Fun. The showers are the best for new ideas, right?
Yeah, I get all my
so tell us about
like while I'm driving too. I get really good ideas while I'm driving. So
also inconvenient because
no,
what do you do?
I just do voice notes. I just have Siri write it all down for me.
Got it. Tell us about your TBR. What are you reading right now, and then what's coming up for you?
Okay, so I am 2 chapters away from finishing the audiobook of Caught Up, which is Nefessa Allen's sequel to Lights Out.
Okay.
And I am on book 3, 4 of the Harlequin series by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti, which is the spin-off series to Kings of Quarantine. And I'm on Carnival Hill. For those of you who've read this, I'm on Carnival Hill. It's like 6 books, I think, in that series. I think I got a couple left to go still. That's what I'm reading right now for that. I had read the Kings of Quarantine books a couple years ago, and then I just randomly decided I wanted to pick up the series that I never actually. There are so many people out now going, I can't believe you haven't read those yet. Those came out 3 years ago, but whatever. That's what I'm reading right now. And physical book is Avalon Tower by Cian Crawford and Alex Rivers. That's my.
I think I've seen that one floating around.
It's like Faye FBI Academy. It's like Faye Spy Academy. It's
fun.
It's really good. It's really good. Also, Christine and Nick Crawford are so freaking great. I really love them. I've never met Alex Rivers, so I can't talk about that. But I've met Cian Crawford. They're really great. And also their bookish community is pretty cool too. Avalon Tower is part of my Sisterhood of the Traveling book that I have with my 4 besties, which is the first time we're trying this. And I am so bad in the fact that I have actually been reading this for like 6 months, and I was supposed to send it to them 5 months ago. but then like the problem with that, with a physical book, is that most of the time when I have the ability to be able to be physically with a book in my hands, I have to have a laptop in my hands, and I was really hard pushing to finish Silver Shard. So I spent all my time I should have been reading that editing.
Busy woman. Yeah. They get it. I'm sure they understand.
That's the negative side of being an author, is that you don't necessarily have time to read physically as much as you would otherwise. That's why audiobooks are so great. Also TV shows. I haven't watched a new TV series that has come out in 3 years.
Oh no. Oh no.
So
TV is so good.
I know. so I'm really behind on a lot of stuff.
If you could become any paranormal creature or shifter, which would you choose and why?
I really love griffins. I know that that's going to feel like a weird thing to say considering I have literal dragons tattooed on my body, but my first mythological creature love was the griffin. I for years wore this like griffin pendant and everything. So like for the people who know me, it was no surprise when they were reading Silver Shard and they made an appearance. I just but you know, like I like the shifter griffins. So I would want to be a shifter version of something. Because I would want to be able to have the ability to wander around as like incognito, you know, without being really obvious. So I really love griffins. I don't have really a good reason for it other than I've just always thought that they were really cool and majestic, and griffins show up in Alice in Wonderland. That's probably where I first got it from, to be honest, was from the griffin in Alice in Wonderland.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jen, the Romantasy Book Convention, hosted by Fabled Fantasy Events, is right around the corner here in October, here in Orlando. And we are so excited to actually get to meet you in person and give you hugs.
Me too. I'm excited to meet you guys in person too. I hope you like hugs. I like to hug.
I
love hugs.
Yes.
But is there anybody else that you are looking forward to, or any part of the convention that you are looking forward to?
I can tell you exactly what I'm looking forward to because I screamed the moment I found out. So I am a sponsor of the Masquerade.
Yes, you are.
And one of the perks that comes with that is that at the Masquerade, a professional cosplayer, Tommy Knight, is going to be cosplaying as Illyria. And I am so excited. Cannot wait.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's something that I can't even tell you.
I can't wait.
I'm so excited to meet her in person. We've chatted a lot over the last month and a half, and I may be on the ground with heart failure when she comes walking in, straight out of my imagination. Like I can't wait. Like that's it right there.
The photographer in me wants to capture every detail of the event, but the book lover in me wants to just hang out and cosplay and meet everybody.
I know that. I know that also, because I like taking photos of things too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how can we, as fans, I know that you're active on Instagram. We love that. How else can fans reach you and support you? And I know you did that amazing Kickstarter campaign recently, and you also have your Facebook Readers Club.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my reader group on Facebook is very active. I don't know how the coolest people in all of Book Talk found their way to me, but they did. And they were so awesome. They organized themselves into their own book club, and they chat in there all the time. We have spoiler chats for each book as they come out, so as people are reading, they can talk with other people who have also read. Especially because so many of us are like very solo in the world of the books we're reading, and so you don't necessarily always have people you can feel comfortable talking about it with, and you don't want to, even if you have a friend, if they haven't read the book, like you don't want to like spoil it for them. But then you're like internally dying a little because you need to talk about it. So I decided to make spoiler chats for each book so that it could be like a free place to be able to just openly discuss each one. And the readers that are in that group love jumping in. As soon as somebody comes into the new book, they love jumping in and talking about it. They're so enthusiastic and they're so incredibly welcoming. And it's so, like, you want to talk about like found family type of things. Like, that's like through my reader group was how I met Lo, you know, like she's one of my best friends now, and it's just really good. So that's what I highly recommend if you are even a little bit into anything I've written, or even if you haven't read anything and you just want a community, don't read my stuff, whatever, come say hello. We like friends. So
I recently joined your group and I have yet to share, so yeah.
That's okay. There's loads of people too.
I will send the invite right
who
now.
are background lurkers. They just like to. They'll like sit in the. They just sit in the chat. They just like to read it. And one of my best friends from college. I know he does it because every once in a while he'll randomly comment on something, and his first name is Nick. So not inspiring my Niccolo, not inspiring him, because that character is named Nick because the original L. Frank Baum character's name is Niccolo. But so when people are fangirling and like, you know, like thirsting over my Nick, he'll come in and be like, well, hello. I feel like I was summoned.
I love that.
And then like makes everybody laugh, and then not in like a weird creepy kind of way, but just in a really great kind of everybody laughs.
So cheeky.
So yeah, it's great. Book communities are the best. I don't know. I love the bookish world.
Well, I know we've definitely gone over our time limit here, so.
Yeah, when you're like 30 minutes, and I was like, that will not be a problem. I do not have issues talking.
I'm here for it. I've been loving it, eating it up. I have loved hearing you and having you on today. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me. This was really good, and we can chat anytime you want. I love doing this kind of stuff.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Awesome.
Yes, Geneva, thank you so much again.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing people out there in the world.
Yes. And so next up on Sunshine Ladies Unraveling Tales, we will chat with author Faye Knightley and discuss her newest book, which is called Ancients. I was actually the ARC reader on that. And then, we've got some more goodies coming your way.
A few surprises. Right, Carrie?
Yeah, we do. As always, though, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can follow us on Insta at the Sunshine Ladies Pod. And we will catch you all in the next episode. Bye!
Bye! Bye!